And then there's the transformative or the activist. You know, we're still, you know, we're picking it up, but also want to just open up the, you know, the international side of it. This gentleman here mentioned France, but which was a valid point, very interesting to comment on. But we could also then add, you know, a plethora of countries, religions, and cultures around the world today who still, you know, criminalise sodomy. We still see religions as they still are the driving force around so much structured homophobia and misogyny. One of the couple of images that I wanted to mention that I think are very important for us, three. One is that one of the most amazing symbols of religious unanimity in recent times was in Jerusalem, just before World Pride, Gay Pride in Jerusalem a few years ago, when there was a fantastic photograph of 11 different religious leaders who would normally be tearing each other's throats out. You know, I'm talking about not just Muslim and Jewish, I'm talking about Catholic and Greek Orthodox, you know, who fight in some ways much more viciously over the thurible and who gets to swing it, as the Palestinians and the Jews do over land. It's just ridiculous. But there they all were, 11 of these leaders lined up together at an international press conference to condemn gay pride. You know? Condemning us brought them together like nothing else, which is the surest sign, if you know any Girardian theory, that you're dealing with, you know, sort of really, really deep-seated sacrificial violence, which has nothing to do with anything we could call God. So we're up against that kind of stuff, which is still very, very alive. In Uganda, you know, this bill that's you know, being debated at the moment, which is going to criminalise homosexuality in the most amazing ways. Repeated homosexual offenders will get executed. People who promote or support or pastorally advise homosexuals and don't report that will be imprisoned, potentially for life. This is being debated now, and it's being proposed by evangelical Christians, and of course by a lot of other religious groups in Uganda. The big question at the moment is, what will the Catholic bishops do? Because Catholicism is very influential in Uganda. That will be really critical, what the Catholic bishops decide to do. We live in a very secular society where often in the gay community, someone mentioned, you know, hearing that, you know, the Christmas party God is shit, you're more likely, I'm more likely to hear, it's all a lot of crap, why do you bother? You know, it's irrelevant. It's like, it's very relevant. You know, we have to be aware that what we're engaged in is something that is epoch-making and profound and will cost a lot of us. It's not just about our personal inner journey. So that is the core of it. And the last thing I want to say, just to share about the World Parliament of Religions, sorry to go on so much. Some of you may know about it, some of you may not know about it. They have done a terrible job of promoting it. Every 5 years since 1893, in one major city around the world, there's been a World Parliament of Religions. This year, for the first time, it's in Melbourne. The Melbourne Convention Centre from the 3rd to the 9th of December. 200 different religions from all around the world will be represented. It's a massive multicultural event and multi-faith event. And it is expensive. Yeah. That's why I haven't done the promotion that I promised I would do, because it's very expensive. When I first looked at the program, I couldn't find anything about gay or queer. And given what I've just said, you can imagine how that made me feel. We're all going to come together to pat each other on the back and say, aren't we wonderful that we can talk to each other for 6 days, but no place for queers. Just by them not being there. So I proposed a workshop which got accepted. I think the structure actually there in Chicago actually are quite gay-friendly, but they don't know what to do with it. So there is a workshop next Saturday morning in the convention centre that I'm running. If you Google Parliament Religions Melbourne, you'll get the whole website. If you then search gay, you'll get my workshop. There are only 2 gay things in the whole workshop. Michael Kirby and Dorothy McCrammett-Mann are doing something on the Monday afternoon. I'm running an interfaith panel on the Saturday morning. But the very fact that there are only 2 out of 500 events at this celebration of interfaith talking, dialogue, says that we do have a lot of work to do. And the heart of that, I think, to keep that going, is things like this. So I just want to wrap up my rave by saying that one of the most crucial things that I think we still struggle with as people of, it's about religion, as people who have some sense of spirituality and faith, and want to be queer, want to be gay, bisexual, intersex, transgender, is to allow our voices to be heard, to hear one another, to actually give articulation to who we are and what we do, so how we live. So I think to continue with these sorts of gatherings and the things we're going to try and do at the Parliament are just so critical, and we mustn't lose sight of how revolutionary they are, not just in the sweep of history, but even today. Okay?
Thank you. I'm aware of other people wanting to speak, and we're going to try and get through. So Ken, and then Harriet, and then Keith. Sorry, we're just going to keep... I'm so sorry. No, you're okay, Harriet? Okay, so Ken, Keith, and Michael at this point. I can use mine, I don't know why though. I'm sorry, I'm getting caught up in the important discussions.
I've recently done an art course at Melbourne University for the modern art and the history of, and also I've been working at Heidi. At the beginning of this year, they had an exhibition of an artist who unfortunately was in the 60s, but in that exhibition they had 4 banners, and on those banners was Coptic, Buddhist, Islamic, and the prominent religious things, and he actually gave a walkthrough. Now, one of the things about looking at a graphic thing like that is that it doesn't have a dialogue. It actually makes you answer what the graphic presents to you. And by going on that direction, I'm looking at the word multicultural, and in the walkthrough he's saying that these different religions are actually hermetically sealing the culture that they're living in. So you've got 2 things. You've got a religion and you've got a culture which derives one from the other. Now, to move out of any of these multicultural or religious groups, it is kind of hermetically sealed with you from your babyhood onwards. Now, when your sexuality becomes evident, you probably have the anxiety or the fear of moving out of that hermetically sealed condition. So then you feel that the sexuality threatens that particular culture, religious thing, that the fear sets in, and then you have that battle of becoming who you are. So it's the environment or religious, cultural, which is both, that we actually have. It's the fear of moving away from it, but not because it doesn't seem to include you. And the including or excluding is the battle. And basically, we're all human beings, and we all have a spiritual energy that's right around the globe. So it's not isolated. So it's all a matter of isolation, and the artist himself sees that as one of our major problems, not just in sexuality, but in a whole lot of things. And Obama is speaking to the Arab world in that light, which is a great thing for our present atmosphere.
Thank you. Unless there's a comment from the panel, we might go on because we're running out of time. Is that okay? But thank you so much. Keith? Helmina, Keith?
I wanted to speak and thank Michael Kelly. I'll be going to the Parliament of the World's Religions, and like him I wondered what sort of a say I might be able to have, or what contribution, or how I could learn, and so on. Second thing I wanted to say was, hidden away in yesterday's Age was a 4-page supplement on the Australian Multicultural Foundation. If you didn't find it, I can't tell you whether it was in the domain section or the careers section, but go through yesterday's Age and find the 4 pages on the Australian Multicultural Foundation, headed, of course, by Hus Dalal.
Thank you, Keith. Michael, did you want... And was there anybody, just before, is there anybody else who wanted to... No, Harriet. No? Okay.
I wanted to make a response earlier to the issue about disability, but I actually would like to address more of the issue that Michael Kelly just rose about the major faiths accusing the LGBT gay men of sodomy, you know, and that's the main issue that they can't come to terms with. And I really think it's our community's utmost responsibility to break down that stereotype that is all we are about. Because, you know, the issue of sodomy or anal sex or whatever the gay male sex act is that these people can't talk about, but, you know, the thing that rules our lives is that gay men did not invent it, and that it goes back thousands of years in heterosexual culture. And I would challenge any heterosexual person who accuses gay men of living their lives purely for sodomy to say, okay, well, heterosexuals didn't do this, don't do it, won't do it, we'll never do it, because there are more of them doing it than we are. And it's our community's responsibility to tell them that they are the ones that actually started it. You know, tell them that they are the ones that have been fucking each other up the arse, not us.
Can I just yell out that lesbians do it too?
Yeah,
So-
they do.
Can I just
gay men.
And can I just add, in the sexual health work that I'm doing, the number of heterosexual men who actually like being penetrated, and they are too scared to say that, that's coming through much more strongly. And so it's, yeah, it's a practice, it's sex, and I agree with you. Yep. Maurice. Okay. After that comment, who's next? Who'd like to make a comment or discuss?
I had one question,
Okay.
and I was going to ask Catherine, isn't it?
Yes.
Catherine, you told us you're expecting a child, is that right? You're not going to claim it's a virgin birth, are you?
My father would ask me whether it was intended.
Now I try to make a serious point, okay? We are accused of being unnatural. Our love is depicted as being unnatural, yet the basic tenet of Catholicism, of Christianity, is a virgin birth. You know, fancy a woman, a young girl, telling her parents that she's been penetrated by the Holy Spirit. No father or mother would accept that as a reasonable excuse. And they talk to us about the family, that we're not a family. Well, you've got Saint Joseph and Saint Mary, who never had sex, apparently, who never had any other children. Well, not according to the Catholic Church. You're obviously a heretic. You know, they never had any other children. They never had sex. They had one son who never married. Okay, that's the typical... Yeah, hung around 12 men. Saint John put his forehead against him. You know, that's the normal heterosexual family that the Roman Catholic Church presents. I think we've got a pretty good chance of claiming to be a family.
Fantastic. Thank you. I've been given the wind up by the President, so unless there's anyone else who hasn't had a chance to speak and would like to say something at this point. Just before, I just want to mention that some people have been asking Joseph for his book. Joseph does have, and he's too modest to say this, he has 3 copies available here today, and they're $65 each, so I just want to say that. On behalf of everyone, and I think if anyone, you know, at the end, if you want to speak, just thank you so much to everybody for your contributions, your discussions, your questions. And there's something that I tend to say to my students at the end of semester when I'm getting all mushy, and I'm getting mushy now, and that is, if there's something that you've taken from today and something that's really uplifted you, and, you know, there's something called pay it forward, by all means thank us, we all like that, but the most important thing is that you take something from this and you take it out into your communities, your relationships, your health sectors, everywhere you go, because then that's something that we actually wanted to achieve. So thank you. And we've got some gifts here. Just a reminder.
I get to it.
Okay, your turn.
All right, I'll take it. Thank you, Maria. You're actually giving them, but now I've got it, so
right.
I was just going to pass them to you.
Okay.
So if we could just, if you could join me, I'm going to jump off the speaker table for a second and just thanking our speakers. We've got a gift for each of them. Thank you. We pay it forward with actual gifts too. But just before you go, I do have some quick words.
Yes. And thank you, Palmina, for the roving mic. And photos from Michael.
Okay, I do have a gift here that I would like to present on behalf of the AGMC to Mikey Barnett, our wonderful photographer for today, who coming up and get it. Thank you, Mikey. And finally, of course, must give a gift to the wonderful MC Maria. So please let's thank Maria. And finally, just to properly wind it up, I have to give a plug to United We Dance for all those who aren't aware. Can't get better. You've just spent the day at the Australian Gay, Lesbian, Bisexual, Transgender, Intersex, Queer, Multicultural Council Forum. And later on at 7:30 tonight, United We Dance starts at the Market, which hopefully most of you know is just down the road. And there are quite a few shows on, so come along. And thank you very much for coming here today.
Thank you.
I was going to say, you're free to go.
Well, come and chat.
United We Dance. I say dance.
Oh, are you? Oh, excuse me, everyone. At 10 o'clock, you'll see Maurice performing. Ooh, fantastic.
Who chose the team there as SPL?